afternoon, everybody. Welcome in once again to another episode of Chop Talk, brought to you by DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for everything DFS, from MLB to NBA to everything in between, from MMA to NASCAR, etc., etc. Everything covered, every sport covered. We are rolling out new tools all the time. We have coaches and contributors always looking to talk DFS with you and make you a better player. So follow the link in the bottom of the comments section here. Use code CHOP, C-H-O-P, to trigger a 10% grandfathered discount off the lifetime of your membership. Our prices go up, yours never do if you lock in today using the code CHOP, C-H-O-P. At any rate, I got asked a question yesterday that was a very, very good one, so I'm going to try and tackle two things at once today. I got asked, how do I find value bats on Scherzer-type slates? And that is a great question we're going to attempt to answer today, just to walk you through how I go about doing it, so that maybe when the next time a Scherzer, 11 or 12K pitcher rolls around, you're ready and you understand that not all $2,000 bats are the same. One thing to mention as well, because I probably won't come back to it again, being I primarily play on Fanduel, when it comes to DraftKings and you're starting two pitchers on those slates, oftentimes we don't pay for the very, very top guy on DraftKings because we get two pitchers to choose from. The idea is to combine those two pitchers' points and get the best overall score, as opposed to maybe pick the top guy on the slate and then have to scrap and scrape for a bottom of the barrel SP2 that is rather volatile himself. Otherwise he'd be priced more. You're almost better off going down the list, say to that second tier, bottom of the first tier, top of the second tier type pitcher, so that you've got an extra $1,000 or $2,000 to play with in your cap, and you can buy yourself a pitcher up off the bottom. That leads into more of a cash game philosophy, in that a lot of times we build more balanced lineups. We don't really tend to go stars or scrubs in cash because the punting is very, very volatile. Baseball's a little different because your Mike Trouts can go for a 0 as well, but when you're paying all that cap space, all that money, allocating so much of that percentage of your cap space up towards Mike Trout, it becomes very, very difficult to then field the rest of a team that really has much potential without getting lucky. So what you're really trying to do, in my opinion, is cut off the top echelon guys and just they're just dead to you. When it comes to cash, I have found that it's much, much better to stick with a more balanced structure, because in that, say on FanDuel, that mid to upper $3,000 tier, I generally find players that are good and that have phenomenal upside, that bat in the hearts of orders, that still sit in good offenses, yet they're not priced out of this world like a lot of the guys that have been just smashing the cover off the ball. When you get to a guy that is a $4,500 player, he's either Mike Trout or he's overpriced. And when he gets overpriced, you need to get off of that guy in cash, because cash is about hunting value. It's about finding consistency, finding safe players that generally score what they typically score. They're consistent, yet they're not overpriced. They bring a discount with upside for more. And when I find that mid 3K range and stay in that primarily, I find it easier to find guys that are maybe on hot streaks and are on the way back from a cold streak, and I can use them, or guys that are just kind of consistent but not spectacular, like a DJ LeMahieu, Buster Posey, Joe Mauer type guys. Those are decent cash game players. They're usually not going to hit you 2 home runs. They're usually not going to score 40 fantasy points in a night, but they're usually not going to score 3 or 6 either. They're going to get you somewhere in that 12 to 15 to 20 range, and they're going to do it very often, very frequently. That's why they don't carry the huge price tags. They don't have the huge upside, but that's also why they're not a punt, because they don't end up with a lot of zeros either. Those are very good cash plays, and that's the range I like to hunt when I'm looking. So to dive in, what we're going to do in showing you this MLB lineups page is I'm going to start the process all the way through from start to finish, the way that I run things, and then we'll talk a little bit about finding the value bats in here once we describe what this page is meant to do for you, because I'm getting a lot of questions inside our Slack channels as far as that's concerned too for VIPs. So let's dive in. I'm going to jump over to the research station really, really quick. So the first thing I do is I look for the best pitchers on the slate. I look for the K upside and the K handedness, combine those together for my K score. You find find that in chin music. Then I scroll down to the bottom of the DFS grade, and I'm looking for what pitchers am I picking on. And the way I do that is by looking at their opponents. So Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Minnesota, Oakland, New York, LA, Dodgers. Those guys are all in great spots tonight on their slates. I might close this down and play just the 8 o'clock slate tonight, and when I do, this may reshuffle a little bit, but it's telling me that these are the offenses that I should likely be focused on. I look for them to match up in the Vegas totals with high implied run totals for a little bit of confirmation, but I trust our DFS Army grade, and it's telling me these are the offenses to be looking at tonight. Then, of course, I jump over into the Trends tab. And if you know me, you know that I love the Trends tab. I knocked off all the day slate stuff, and now if I'm building cash lineups, I can sort by position, or I can also cut out this number filter to go greater than, say, 350 is usually my go-to. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, depending on how shallow or deep the slate is. And what I'm trying to do is cut the fluff out. When it comes to cash games, I'm not typically trying to stack cash games. I will if it takes me there. Like, Oakland, and then Colorado. See, there's a lot of twosies. There's not really a lot of, like yesterday, if you played the smaller slate, you saw, I want to say it was either Chicago or it was LA. They were everywhere. And so then I'm probably stack. But on a bigger slate like this, I'm not going to stack that much in cash. I'm going to be focused on DFSA grades, focused on different positions in the higher last 7-day WOBA numbers, because I trust those numbers. Those are telling me, again, he's got a season line baseline forming. He's got last 2 weeks where he's been running pretty good, and he's got the last week where he's running even better. It tells me he's ascending. He's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and I want to ride that train while the price is potentially right. There's a couple of mid 3K guys. There's a little $2,400. I'm going to use these value bats if they're running hot. Luis Valbuena here at 489 WOBA over the last 7 days is just going to be a third base lock for me. That's one way I'm going to find them, is I'm going to use the RS, the research station here, and find these guys by cheaper pricing. I'm going to be focused on a lot of these guys here, and I'm going to scroll over here, and is he running hot? How hot is he? And I might try and stack a little bit, but I'm not going to be focused on stacking. I will go there if my construction takes me there, but I am not starting off with a key stack in mind. I'm starting off with value, hot streak, maybe weaker pitching that I should be facing, DFSA grade, things like that. So I've shifted my focus a little bit, and it's going to lead to, one guy from here, 2 guys from here, 1 guy from here, 2 guys from here. I will try to stay in the tops of the batting orders if I can, but I would rather have a guy hitting 552 in the 7 hole than a guy hitting 250 in the 1 hole. That should just be common sense to you guys. So what I'm going to try and do, like I said, is sift through that way. Now, when I'm building for hybrid lineups, which are kind of in between, like a GPP, I'm going to lead with a stack. Like, I'm going to take a chance on a cheaper pitcher so that I can get some big, expensive bats in there. Then I'm going to focus on a big stack, like LA. There might be my 4 guys right there at all costs, and then I'll find punts to go around them, and I'm hoping that LA stack goes bonkers. And I would maybe try to surround it with some cheaper bats that I find. There's a Minnesota and a couple of Oaklands or something like that maybe I can squeeze in there with them and get some correlation in the second part of the lineup. But that's what I'm trying to do for GPPs. It's more of a boom or bust thing. I'm focused on guys that can go the distance. I still want these hot guys. I might take a chance on a colder guy that's maybe due for some regression, in which case I would scroll over here to, like the hard contact and see 36%, 47%, 67%. So whether or not his WOBA's high or not, Nolan Arenado, nope, Luis Valbuena again, hello. Luis Valbuena is getting hot. He's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting the ball harder and harder and harder, as of right now. So he's maybe starting to heat up, and I can maybe board that train a little bit early instead of waiting for it to come up and when his price comes up, and I can use him to fill in that stack. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is, if I've got the one cash style where I'm focused more on value, DFSA grade, a little bit of hot streak, and weaker pitching, and spreading out because I'm not focused on stacking and correlating on teams, then on a GPP, when I'm going to go to the other extreme and I'm going to focus on correlation and stacking and things like that work together as a unit, because if I get one offense tonight that scores 10 runs, I want 4 bats from that offense because it's going to lead to more points for me over the long run. That's the other extreme. I've typically build hybrids personally, and I build them more towards the middle. I will use some cash principles and maybe not go all the way with the stacking, but I'm going to stack some because I'm going to try to beat 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, whatever. And to be quite honest with you, I don't need that quite to get into the 50-50s, but if I can beat 5 people, I've beat 80% of the world. 4 out of 5 is 80%. I beat 80% of the world, so I should be in the top half of darn near any contest that I play. So therefore, I'll put it in some 50-50s because sometimes I don't win that 5-man, but I do win the 50-50. And when that happens, now I've covered the losses a little bit of those other bigger upside chances at the higher payouts with some of the cash games. So again, I've been talking all year long about how we're kind of blending the lines between cash games and GPPs, and the principles are still there, but when people see some guy who 4 stacks, it goes a 4x4 stack in a 50-50, don't automatically assume that guy's a donkey. He might be putting that lineup also in a GPP somewhere, and he's just backing that lineup up with some cash. That's the ladder principle, and that's another thing that you can find here at DFSArmy.com. If you go into the strategy tabs, it's in every one of these tabs, and I would encourage you to go through there and read it, or search out on Google for ladder up, DFS Army ladder up. That will take you right to a video and the article, and you can read for yourself kind of the concept behind it, because it's pretty revolutionary for a lot of people that are struggling with, do I do cash or do I do GPPs? I tend to do both. I'll stack some, but I won't stack a ton. I will look for the value and take the value, but I'm trying to correlate for points, because if I spread out too much and only get one guy from this offense and one from that offense and one from that, yes, I'm a little bit bulletproof in the fact that no single flat offense is going to take me down that night, but also I don't correlate, so I don't get the boost from an offense that did do well because I've only got one guy in it instead of 3. So I can't beat 10 or 20 guys when it comes to that. So I can't win a 10-man or a 20-man league if I'm not correlating somewhere, because the world stacks in baseball. That's just the world we live in. You either adapt or you perish. In other words, you either learn to conform a little bit in that area or you redeposit, because you cannot beat a 20-man league very often with a cash-built lineup. You can win 50-50s, sort of, but it sure does help you if you build for the top 20% of the world and then miss with the top half of the world. So anyway, let's move on to the starting lineups page, and let me talk a little bit more about what I'm trying to do here, since that is the basic principle of my process and picking out the batters that I want to look at. I want to show you this different tool because it's very, very different. It's going to lead, I didn't do any prep to really get you to players that conflict and differentiate, between the two of them, but I do want to show you that this lineups page can give you different numbers than the research station right now. And until the DFS Army combines those, which may or may not ever happen, you can use these 2 different sheets to build lineups, but I would recommend pick one. Use the research station or use the starting lineups page. Don't use both, because you're going to confuse yourself. You want to stick with one basic set of numbers. I like the last 7-day WOBA. That's my favorite number right now. It tells me who's hot. I just like it. But I sit there for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I get a feel by looking at those numbers every day, how they're changing, who's heating up, who changed for the better, who changed for the worse, because your mind will hold on to that data. It will start to look familiar to you day in and day out. If you get that kind of a routine built, then you can start picking up on some of the subtle change. Ooh, look, that guy's all of a sudden kind of hot. Or, ooh, I haven't seen that offense for a while yet. Who's hot in it? Oh, these guys. All right. Now, when you start picking up on that type of stuff, you're starting to watch the hot streaks come, and you're starting to watch the hot streaks go. That's when you can add that extra dimension to your lineup building. When you can do the same thing over here, because these numbers are going to change as well. But you're looking at 7-day samples over there, 14-day samples over here, and you're looking at different numbers. So they're going to tell you different things. You're going to go over there and see CJ Cron is, maybe, cold there and hot here, and you're going to go, which numbers do I believe? You believe the numbers you've been using for the past couple of weeks. I might get hooked on this page and then only use this one as confirmation or to check something really quick to make sure they both line up. Or I might stay over here and then use this page to confirm those things. You need to prioritize one over the other, or you will always end up chasing your tail and wonder why you're losing. Okay? That's a very, very important concept. Now, to dive into this and the WOBA and the ex-WOBA stuff, because that's what everybody wants. ISO, K percentage, whatever. They're great. You don't really need to use them. The DFSA grade should be the same from player to player on both pages. What people are going to be keying on is ex-WOBA and WOBA and the difference between the two. And I'm telling you right now, it's potentially revolutionary to the industry in the way we look at these things. DFS Army is the only one doing this right now. So I'm sorry, if you're not a VIP, you need to become one if you want to unlock this and cruise these at your own leisure and not on my pace. So what you're going to look at, ex-WOBA takes the defense and luck kind of out of play. It just tells you what the guy should be producing in his WOBA. That's all you need to know. What should he be doing the way he's hitting the ball right now? And WOBA is what is he doing right now? Not what should he be doing, but what is he doing right now? And there's a difference. You know there's good luck and bad luck in baseball. You know guys hit into shifts. Guys, hit line drives that get amazing diving catches, and and then on the other side of it, a little bitty swinging bunt that taps out and goes about 12 or 13 feet, and he beats it out to first base. One should have been a hit and wasn't. One shouldn't have been a hit and it was. Those are the luck factors that baseball is so ripe with, and why it's volatile, and why it drives us all so damn crazy night in and night out with what should have happened. A diving catch at the wall brings the home run back, and that just robbed me of 25 points, and that would have been me making the cash or not. That happens in baseball. Get over it. It's just the way the game is played. But if we keep putting ourselves in the positions to succeed over the course of 162 games, we should be okay. This number tells you when it's getting ready to happen. The difference, if a guy should be hitting a 152 and he's hitting a 178, he's actually outperforming what he should be doing. And that's what the differential tells you. The negative tells you he's outperforming what he should be doing, which means he's due to cool off. I don't know how you could possibly cool off of a 178 WOBA and stay in the major leagues, so you've got to use a little bit of common sense. We got to put our common sense caps on here. And this number has to be a good number to begin with, or it doesn't mean crap. Okay, and that's an area where people are going to get massively confused, to be quite honest with you. They're just going to see the differential and go, oh, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. No. You need to be looking at these numbers too. And you need to be using them in conjunction with each other. You look at the ex-WOBA, 356 should be hitting at a 356. It's pretty good. Should be hitting at a 322. That's okay. Should be hitting at a 373, a 380, a 368. Okay, this offense as a whole, nobody should be tearing the cover off the ball. Tampa Bay should not be running that hot as an offense right now anyway. And then I look at what they are doing, and I see a little worse, nothing spectacular. So I would go in here looking for specific players if I was targeting Tampa Bay, and I would be targeting what these guys should be doing, and I'd look, are they doing close to that or not? If they're doing close to that, then that's an okay number. If they're doing way over that number, then this is going to be a dark red column, and then I'm going to probably devalue that guy a little bit, thinking he's due to cool off. If it's way under that number and he's smashing the ball, and we'll find a couple of those hopefully, then I'm going to get on that guy, and I'm going to be thinking he is due to come around because he's just hitting the ball right at people right now. That's how you're going to interpret that number. Okay? And of course you may use this to verify if he's doing it with a little bit of power, but really and truly WOBA is a catch-all type of stat that way. If I come over here, let's look at some of the offenses that we might want to target tonight, because I've already got a few picked out. Cleveland on the day slate, so not a bad one. Look at what they should be doing. And look at what they are doing. Well, okay, let's take a look at Jose Ramirez. Is he pretty hot right now? I think we all know that. He should be hitting at a 484 WOBA. He is hitting at a 543. So is he due to regress? Sure. But what's he going to regress to? Up 484? That's still great. So even though the differential column tells us you need to be considering getting off of this guy, he's going to cool off. What's he going to cool off to? I mean, if I take my burner on my stove on a 10 and put my hand on it and burn myself and then turn it down to a 7 and say, oh, the burner cooled off, it should be safe now. No, it's still hot. Jose Ramirez is still hot. You should still be playing him. That's where you've got to use these numbers in conjunction with each other, okay? Just because it's the differential can really tell us something, though. Because look here, Michael Brantley should be hitting at a 492. He's only hitting at a 375. That's a good number because he should be hitting at this, which means he's just hitting into some bad luck or something right now. He might be a prime candidate. Because of this, the actual production, his price might be starting to come down a little bit too. He might become more and more valuable to us over the next couple of days if he stays cold. But you might consider getting on him right now because he should be doing this and he's only doing this. There's room for growth. Okay, that's how we use these tabs. Now I'm going to go cruising down through this list. I would be using any of these guys right now. They're in a good spot today. They're hitting the ball well, and they should be hitting the ball well based on these numbers. I would not be using a lot of Baltimore. I might consider some Mets. Look at this number here for Cabrera. We know he's a good hitter. He's a 417 is what he should be doing. He's only hitting a 272. My goodness. The dude's, he should be due to get hot. You know, and if you look at Nimmo, what should be hitting a 467 is hitting a 539. Well, hell, he should, if he's only doing what he should be doing, he's still great. You might stack these two 1-2 and take advantage of Dylan Bundy today. That's not a bad play. I would not use Todd Frazier right now. He should be hitting a 119 or whatever, and he's only hitting a under 100. Shit, get away from him. And this is over 2 weeks. Get away from him. Even though it shows that he's due to get hot, I mean, what's he going to get hot to? A 119? No thanks. You know, I mean, pass. Again, use these numbers and use your head. Look at what these numbers are telling you. So scroll down here, Atlanta. Why have they been cold lately? Well, they shouldn't have been hitting all that great anyway. They're just not hitting the ball very well. So maybe their hot and cold stuff doesn't matter too much, except maybe Flowers is a one-off. You know, maybe Markakis Flowers is a little bit of a mini stack, but I wouldn't be on Freddie Freeman right now. I mean, he can turn it around like that. We all know that, but let's wait for him to do so. Or let's wait for his should-be number to be way bigger than his actual number. Then we know he's starting to turn it around. He's just not getting results yet. That is how I would use that to look for Freddie Freeman. But until then, $5,000? No thanks. Pass. You know, I might get lucky with Markakis and Flowers behind them, in which case if he gets hot and gets on base a few times, they might knock him in. I might pick up a couple of free points there and get a little bit of cheap access to him. But anybody right now taking Freddie Freeman, I'm sorry, you're making a mistake. San Diego Padres, got a couple of hot bats in there, but you got a lot of cold bats in there. They're not a great offense as it is. Arizona, not a lot of guys. Look at this. Jake Lamb should be doing this. He is doing this. Monster GPP play. David Peralta should be doing this, is doing this. Another nice GPP play. Peralta, Lamb, nice mini stack. We knew that Goldschmidt was running hot for a while. He probably still is. This number looks a little bit different from what I've been looking at. Kittle Marte's not terrible. Look at Jared Dyson, should be hitting at nearly a 500 WOBA, and he's hitting way under that. So maybe Arizona's due to break out. Who are they facing? Uh-oh, big target. Chris Stratton, big target. Take a GPP shot on Arizona tonight? Go for it. This logically tells you it could happen for you. Nobody else in the industry is seeing this, guys. You're the only ones that are getting access to this. And you get more access to this at your own leisure as a VIP. San Francisco, a couple of hot bats, sort of, couple of bigger producers, they might be due to cool off because they're producing better than they should be producing when we look at this number. Now, they've got high DFSA grades because they're facing Clay Buchholz, which is not a great pitcher, so this whole game could be game stacked even. Looking at the Dodgers, lots of cold crap. Get off the Dodgers. They're in a great spot today, but they're not showing me any reasons to think I should take advantage of them. I mean, this is their should-be number. No Dodgers. Should be Pittsburgh Pirates. They're in a pretty good spot today, too. No thanks. Now, this is a terrible pitching grade. So, again, let people go for this. Let people fall into this trap. It might score 8 runs today. It's baseball. But it shouldn't. These guys aren't going to be this cold for long. They're eventually going to turn it around. Is today going to be the day? I don't know. I don't have any indication that it is. So I'm not touching them. And I can tell you exactly why when you ask me. It's because I looked at this and I saw they aren't hitting the ball well. They shouldn't be doing anything anyway, and they're not. Yankees, outproducing what they should be doing. Yankees should be pretty cold. Look down here at the bottom of the order. If Andujar and Torres are down there at the bottom, there's your, and golly, 4,000 and 4,700 for an 8-9 stack. That's not good value. I'm just telling you that right now. If it produces like this, though, it's worth taking shots on. Most definitely. I mean, look at what Gardner's doing. Gardner's red hot right now, but he should only be hitting it at 320. All of his balls are falling in, into gaps. You might consider getting off of him. You might consider 40 or 3,300 overpriced for him on Fanduel. Toronto. If I look down at Toronto, no major issues there with who should be doing something and who isn't. And I scroll down Detroit, Boston, There's a lot of green here in Detroit. Detroit should be getting a lot better results than they are. They're going up against a competent pitcher in Eduardo Rodriguez, so I might wait on that. But I'm taking note. I'm taking note of this, and I'm waiting for a weaker pitcher where this might actually come to fruition. Are these thoughts helping? This is just how you walk through the slate, and you're looking at these numbers. You target your specific offenses, and then you look at what they're doing, and then you just kind of make your decision accordingly. Can they get to John Gray? I don't know. They look like they're running fairly hot in the heart of their order right now. Over the last 2 weeks. The only issue with 2-week samples is this might be 12 days old, these big games. In the last 4 games, they might not have been doing much. So you've got to kind of double check that. That's why I like the last 7-day WOBA next to the last 14-day WOBA. But scrolling down and kind of rounding out the slate, we'll see if we spot anything. Get off of Philly. Shouldn't be doing anything right now. Mediocre stuff. Pretty mediocre. Houston's okay, but they're not great right now. Not great right now. Miami's got a couple of hot bats sitting in their lineup. St. Louis has a couple of cold bats sitting in their lineup. St. Louis is in the better spot. The Royals are what the Royals are. Look at Anaheim. Not a bad middle-of-the-order type stack, and if they go up against a weak pitcher like an Ian Kennedy, that's why LA will be popular tonight. Now, here's the thing. LA will be popular tonight, and they'll be correctly popular tonight. Somebody like that we talked about before, Pittsburgh and whoever, I don't see them being really popular right now anyway. Dodgers used to be popular, and they shouldn't be. They won't be probably tonight. Most people are not playing them that much this year. But if people did, let them make that mistake. They're not going to make a mistake if they get on the LA Angels. That's the problem. What you're looking for here is little zigs and zags where people will be making bad mistakes. Sometimes, you get on an offense because you think they're hot, and they're hot for a reason, and they sustain it, and they're good. Sometimes you can see it where it's a mistake, though, and I think I showed you in LA where it is a mistake. Baltimore would be a mistake. Manny Machado right now shouldn't be doing squat. People that play him are making a mistake. They're way overpaying for him right now. They're hoping that he has himself a good night when there's no indication in the last week or two that he's swinging the bat very well. He'll get hot again. He's an MVP candidate, for crying out loud. But watch this number and wait for him to start getting hot, okay? So that's roughly how we look for some cash game bats. That's roughly a process for you to go by when you use the tools inside DFS Army, and that's roughly how you use the concept of XWOBA and the differential today inside DFS Army. If this is the number you like and you like what it's telling you and you understand what I told you, then you can use this to build lineups off of, but stay with this process for a while and let it play out. Let it come to fruition. You're getting out ahead of the curve with this XWOBA stuff, so you've got to kind of let the herd come to you. Get out there like a big python with your mouth open and let the rabbit run into your mouth. That's the way I would describe that. Anyway, this has been Chop Talk, DFSArmy.com. Follow the link in the description or in the comment section of the video. Come and see us as a VIP. Get that grandfathered price with the code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Open these tools up to yourself so that you don't have to sit here and scroll or watch me scroll when you don't want to scroll because you're looking at numbers. Come take control, grab the keys to the race car, drive it yourself, and then open up our optimizer, the domination station, to build those lineups. You can use these plays to tweak the projections inside the lineup to make sure that these are the bats that the optimizer tells you to play and mixes them with the other bats, as opposed to getting this guy up here who's wicked cold. So come visit us, DFSArmy.com. This is your buddy Chop, C-H-O-P. And this has been Chop Talk. Take care, guys. We will talk to you when we talk to you.